Good morning, everybody. It's the end of December, and many of us are experiencing heavy, heavy, heavy rain and wind. It's good that we don't have snow, but this is still putting a lot of people out for being able to join today, because I know there's already been a couple of power outages recorded. But we will go forward with the regular session and record it, and everybody can watch it later. It's too bad I'm not going to be able to get questions from people live, because this is good topics. This is going over some of the updates to the system that we've been talking about all year, and I've been threatening to have come and put in place. Well, they finally happened. They should be all set. A couple of them have been things that were asked for. A couple of them were things that we had, fingers crossed for, kind of thing. But we'll just go over them. It shouldn't take too long because they're pretty straightforward, but just as a good to know kind of thing. One of the first updates that everybody was really looking for, or quite a few people were looking for, were current locations and being able to search by current location. Let me share my screen over here. Want this one. Okay. So a lot of people, especially if they're doing inventories or system checks and things like that, would like to have a specifically current location to search by. Currently, the system will, if you look at a location, it'll very often, or not often, it will show you every location that an object has been associated with, or in a location will show you like every object that has ever been associated with that thing, and where that can come in handy if you're looking to track things down and do a little detective work, and see like what was living near something else. I've done that a lot in my museum. That's handy, but sometimes you just need to know what's there right now, especially with folks who are doing inventories for a specific purpose, like an auditor or something like that. So going on to, actually, I'm going to do Fairfield because I know there's a lot of locations and things in there. I know there's some in the sandbox too, but I know Fairfield's more up to date. So let me hop over there for a second. So it's basically built into the browse search, which is how I had kind of recommended doing it before, but you still had that issue of may not necessarily be current location. So if you want to find out everything that's in your Victorian barn, for example, you go to Find, go to Objects, and go down to the Browse button there. And one of the options, these are all the options that are available to search by the browse at this point. So just, and these will all change around depending, I don't know why they change around, but the objects or the choices are not always in the same place. But you want to look for this one up here, that's current location. And it'll take a second to get in and work through. And then you like pull up your locations. It'll show up on the bottom. As you can see, I was already testing this before, so I can click on Victorian Barn. And it'll go through and do the search and pull up all the objects that are in there. So I have 36 objects in my Victorian barn. I partially chose this one because I know it's a finite set of stuff and I know what's in there and what's not. I had it on a weird display, so let me check the other different display for a second. Like the location confirmation list that I have is one of my custom displays in Fairfields. It'll give you a little bit more information, like the object and the titles and other related locations and things. I do have current location in my display along with other storage locations, but you can go down and see everything that's there. As usual, you can go into the grouping of objects and go in and edit. You can go and look at the waffle that we went over and talked about last week and do any editing there if you want. You can also download to like Excel and Word and anything else you want to, if you wanted to like write out a checklist for something or like print out a checklist for something. So that's super handy. So now you can go and find out exactly what is in a space. Related to this is a new field in locations that I had seen in Minnesota's system and had kind of wanted something like it. And then as soon as I saw it in their system, I went, oh, we need to do this because this is something that is going to be really like small, but super useful. So if you go into location for a record, and this is all objects, it'll work across locations, but mainly related to objects. There's now in the location screen where everything is, there's now a little extra block at the bottom called inventory, and you can add inventory entry. And all it is just inventoried by what person. It is related to your entity list. So if you don't have like yourself in there as an entity yet, make yourself an entity or whoever is doing the count, and then the date that you saw it, that it was inventoried. This is a multiple entry screen, so you can add additional entries in there if you have like a once a year thing or something like that. This is just something that can be really useful for, some places may not use this at all, but it can be really useful if you do need to have some sort of synopsis of the whole section, or if you're looking to do something in particular with a group of records. It's just basically yep, I saw this as of today, it was in this location, we're good. I haven't seen, I was trying to look this morning to see if this was available in a display setting, but I didn't see it. Doesn't mean it's not there yet. I'll do a little bit more looking to see, because I don't know if I think it could be useful in a custom display. And I'm making myself a note to double check that. Check for a custom display. But anyway, I think this can be really useful. I'm really happy that this got added. This is also, I think, going to be useful for folks who are maybe even just starting and haven't gotten very far. Hold on. Who have just started and not gotten very far in entering their collections, that they can just go in and say, well, this is our first step, is create an inventory, because we can always create a like custom entry screen with this as one of the fields to go in and start adding stuff. And go from there. So that's that, very related to that current location thing. One of the other things that's been there, but hasn't been something that we've really focused on necessarily, and I think we may have talked about it once or twice, is in the, we're going to keep on this little mud shoe, in the provenance and rights fields. Down here in the rights statement, we've added in a drop down for the rights statement. This is, like I said, been here for a little bit, but we've just not really talked about it too much. The rights statement is meant to basically go hand in hand with what is required by Connecticut Digital Archive for entering records into their system. They require a rights field. So we're continuing work on the connector to try to be able to get our records uploaded into digital archive. We're closer than ever before in this instance. But you'll have to select one of these items in copyright, no copyright US, no known copyright, public domain. This is meant to go off of rightstatements.org and their guidelines. That's what CTDA had adopted as like guidelines for what they wanted to do. And it's basically, you're not saying that it's in your copyright in this place. You're just saying that something is or isn't in copyright, or basically that it's going to be up to someone who wants to use it to figure out what the copyright is. There's a really good page and guideline on rightstatements.org for a lot of this stuff. I'm hoping to do a session about this some point this year. I'm kind of waiting to see what CTDA does with it and what Connecticut Humanities does with it, because they were trying to work on some copyright tools and things as well for people. The default is going to be for when it gets uploaded to CTDA, if you've not entered anything, the default will go to copyright undetermined. So that puts the onus on the person who's looking at it to figure out if they need to, or for them to figure out if it's in copyright or not. So those are there. Nothing else has really changed over here. One of the really exciting things now we had talked about this with relation to the public portal. When we were doing all the upgrades, and you may have seen if you've gone on to the system and looked down at this little transcribe button at the top. I had not thought we had turned it on yet because we didn't really test anything. I randomly clicked on it for something the other day, or actually a long way of getting around it. I discovered there's an on-off button for whether you wanted to do transcriptions or not. So I tried it, made a couple things public access and put it up for transcription, went on to the portal, clicked on transcribe, and now this shows up the way it's supposed to. Browse items for transcription. When you click on that, if you've made something public access and marked that you want to add it to transcription, it will show up here. So what this is going to do is give you the ability to crowdsource transcribing any documents. This is all Fairfield just because I have access to Fairfield. And I started this one the other day just to see how it went. So it'll give you a little button here, whether it's not started, whether it's in progress. I put up a shorter one so I could finish it, and I haven't done that yet. So I'm assuming it'll come up as like complete or finished. I don't think it'll disappear, but I'm not sure. So what you do is when you go in to the record, when you click on the image, let's see if I can make my window a little bit bigger. It doesn't really do much for you guys. So what you'll do is you can go in and zoom in and out of the image. For the transcription part, you just start typing over on the other side. This does not change your actual record in your actual system. All it does is put this up here, and then you will have to go in once something's completed, go in and copy it and add it to your record, or however you want to add it to your information. So this is something you can basically police because you have to go in and say whether it's right and look it over and that. All you're doing is just putting it right in, typing it right in. There's guidelines on here. I think, yeah, there's guidelines down at the bottom about how you should do it. It's very basic. You know, just telling people if you can't read a word, write illegible, you know, if you're guessing, put the brackets in a question mark, save work often, things like that all the way down. And when you finish a transcription, check the completed box. And for multi-page documents, if you have more than one page, you'll need to do this for each page. So it doesn't wait for you to finish all 10 pages. You have to go page by page and save it. It'll tell you, it'll give you like basic information. There's not a lot of information about archival documents kind of thing usually, but it'll give you like where the collection's coming from and who the contributor is. If you have a weird record and you want to spin it, it'll let you like turn it if there's something you need to see the other way. Go back to regular size, things like that. So normally if I was just doing the full thing, I would click save transcription and it would save that there. I did do a lot of this the other day, so I'm not sure why it's not coming back up as being in there. But again, I'm just starting to play with it because I completely stumbled across this being live and didn't realize it was going yet. So it is not turned on for everybody yet. I'm going to work my way through and just turn it on for everybody. So that'll be up to your guys' option, whether you want to use it or not. But I think it could be a really good tool. You do have to, for the records, to be able to see them for the documents, you have to create an object record for the document. So if you're pulling a document out of your archival collections and scanning it, you do have to create the object record for this. Like if I go into this one and go in, this is the indenture of Lockwood. This is just looking at it as this object on the portal. Let me look him up in so you can see how he looks in this. So here, if you look at my results for this, There's the collection. This is where that record's coming from. Folder K, indentured and slave papers. So if you wanted to, you could go in that and see that it's from Couch Family Papers, box 1, this folder. I shouldn't have acted. But this is the object record that belongs to that. So when you're in that collection and you go down the hierarchy, that's the folder. And you can go down and see that there's the indenture, that's the object that's related to it. So now you've popped over to the object record where you've got the media. So when you're in the media record, if you edit, word about that in a second, there will be a little line down here that says transcribe, yes or no. So it should be by default no. So that's up to you guys to say whether you want to add it to that transcription list or not, but that should be showing up. So after you go in and edit, and you can click done and save per usual. A little note, usually when you go into the media record, there's a lot of information here in the middle, like the record name, the file size, and a bunch of stuff that got lost in the updates, but I figured out what it is and we're going to put those back. So that should be back relatively shortly. Let's see. I think that was it basically.